be quite honest with you, and we've got to challenge ourselves. We're a big Labour family, and like any family, we can fall out at times and we can have difference of opinions, but we've got to get rid of the Tories. We have got to get rid of the Tories, because what they're doing to this country and the opportunities that they're stealing for the next generation is just absolutely appalling. And the other thing that Clive was right about was Sam. And I don't just mean the mirror bit, because he is right about that. I have to elbow him out the way to the mirror. But he is one of the most kind-hearted, amazing individuals I know, and he's also my soulmate. So I can't, you know, he's a really good guy. And I actually think you're incredibly lucky to have him as your MP, because I get to see a lot of Sam, and I get to see a lot of behind the scenes, and I see how much he cares, and most of the conversations he has with me is about the challenges that many people in Ilford face, and the passion in which he talks about changing people's lives, the hours that he puts in, whether it's in the morning or whether it's late at evening. It's not the things you see him doing on the TV, it's not the things you see him doing in Parliament, it's every single day he's on the phone to constituents and trying to fight for them and help for them. And that's what you want from an MP that really cares about his area, and he really does. So I hope that he continues, because it will be an absolute tragedy for the Labour Party to lose someone like Sam as an MP, and you know, I think we need to fight for that. So I mean, most of what my past history has just been, well, the ones I want you to know about anyway, has just been well and truly documented there. And I was also a Samaritan. I was the youngest Samaritan in the Northwest, and dealing with people at end of life, whether that's through palliative care as a care worker or dealing with people who rang the Samaritan helpline, you learn a lot about what people value when it comes to the end. You learn about what matters to people more than anything. Nobody talks about having great wealth when they come to their end of their life. I've never had a conversation with somebody who, whether that's through terminal illness or other means, they don't talk about materialistic things at that time. They talk about the people that surround them. They talk about the love. They talk about regret of not spending more time with the people they care about. They talk about the compassion that they find in whatever it is they're doing in their communities. And I think we need to get back to that. We need to get back to giving people that hope and opportunity about what really matters, about spending time with people, about the importance of being part of a community. And this Conservative government will never understand the value of what it's like to be part of a community. I grew up in poverty, but I didn't know I was a poor child. We were all just mucking together and doing what we had to do and doing the best we could with what we've got. But our community, even though it was in a state where even the police wouldn't go on when I grew up, they've got a police station on there now. Times have changed. But when I was growing up on the estate I grew up on, we had that sense of being part of a community. Yes, it was them versus us, because we felt authority didn't like people like us where I grew up and the estate I grew up on. But we always felt that there was a sense of community. You could leave your door open, we'd all look out for one another. And, you know, what I see from the Conservatives and what they're doing at the moment is they're trying to rip apart that sense of community and that sense of society. And me and Clive was late tonight because we had the vote on the immigration bill, a vile, disgusting piece of legislation that is designed ahead of the local elections to pitch communities against each other and spread hate. It is an awful piece of legislation. We didn't stay for the results. We probably know what the results are going to be, because all of the Tories would have traipsed through the lobby and decided that that's what they were going to do. And yesterday they voted to put more sewage in our waterways as well, and they tried to claim that that's not what they're doing, but they are doing it. Make no mistakes, the Tories are trying to pitch our communities against each other. We've got to make sure that we fight that. Not only will we repeal the horrible legislation that they're bringing forward, but we've got to bring hope back and that sense of community. Because as I said, when people are at their end of life, they don't talk about money, they don't talk about individual things, they talk about the things that bind us together, and we know that. That's why we're part of the Labour family. That's what's important. Now, the last Labour government's not been perfect, but they did amazing things. Sure Start, as was mentioned, was absolutely amazing for young mums like me. My mum didn't know how to give us loves and cuddles when we were kids, and even to this day it's a bit, when I get a cuddle off anyone, it feels a bit strange, or when someone says something nice, because that's not the environment I grew up in. And my mum couldn't read or write and had bipolar. So when I went into school, I wasn't what they considered school ready. And it was the Sure Start programme when I became a mum at 16 that taught me how to give my child love and affection, to look after him, to read to him, and all the important things that you would think come naturally to a parent, but they don't. And it's a wonderful gift to be a good parent. It's a wonderful gift to be able to do that. I was also on income support when I had my son at 16, and I had to get a council flat. And if you think about it today, that people like me have to go to food banks. I visited a food bank as an MP and had to go in the toilets and had a little cry because I saw the nappies and I saw the baby food. And the thing that the Tories don't get about that is that they say, and ministers have said, it's a lifestyle choice. They really don't understand the level of humiliation that people have to go through to go and ask for help because they can't provide for themselves and their family. They will never understand how much people struggle. And these are not people who are benefits, as they say. These people aren't so-called people on benefits, although I was and needed it. And look at me now, I pay my taxes, it helped. I didn't ask to be put in the position of poverty that I was. But today, people who are in poverty are working people. Sometimes they're doing 2 and 3 jobs. The girls I worked alongside who work in the care sector, they're being exploited now and are not being paid for the work that they do. And their work is incredibly valuable. And that's why we've got to change things again, because last Labour governments did that. We built welfare state, NHS, social housing, Open University, the Sure Start programme, so many things that Labour governments have done to change people's lives. The next Labour government can't just get in because the Tories are terrible. We've got to offer people real hope for the future. And that's why it's so important that we put money back into our NHS and we have more doctors and nurses in our NHS, which is what we've said we'll do by taking the non-dom status, which Rishi Sunak today said, the non-dom status thing, you know, the non-dom thing today, he was so dismissive about it. But if we did that, we would have 10,000 new doctors and nurses in our NHS, more trainee places for our young people to get into the qualifications that we need. We've also said that in my area, New Deal for working people. Now that might make some people glaze over, but it's an inspirational piece of legislation that in the first 100 days, and I've worked with Mick and other trade union general secretaries on this, will bring back collective bargaining. We'll see rights from workers from day one. We'll make sure we get sick pay from day one. We'll end fire and rehire. We'll end the 0-hour contract scourge that we see. We will have fair pay agreements across the whole of these sectors so that care workers and others are paid a decent wage. We'll have a real living wage that's compiled by the Low Pay Commission, working in a matrix that we can't get out of. We're working on it now, me and Rachel, so that we can't get out of it and say, pluck a number from out of the air. No, it'll be a real living wage based upon what the real cost of living is for people, and we'll stick to it because these are important. The Great British Energy that we announced, this will be a company that's forward thinking, a state-owned company to look at how we can create the renewables, not the old fossil fuels of the past, but genuinely looking forward at how we can create our energy consumption for the future that is green energy to meet that net zero target. And also making sure that there is good skilled jobs across the whole of the United Kingdom. Wouldn't it be wonderful for our children to be able to go into skilled occupation that guarantees them a job that means that they're working internationally on solving the problem of climate change? Wouldn't they feel great about doing that so that we're actually doing something really positive, not just here in the UK, because energy is a security issue for for the UK, as well as an issue around consumption, but also giving young people that opportunity. £28 billion a year investment, huge sums of investment. But if we haven't got the aspiration to invest in our country in that way, invest in our young people, then we're not going to be a superpower into the future. We have to export, we have to develop our skills, and we know that the people of the United Kingdom are the ones that will make our country great. That's the ones, the workers on the ground who are doing the work. They need the responsibility and the recognition for the work that they do. So there is a lot of work that we're doing at the moment to inspire the next generation. Free breakfast schools, meals for children, loads of school kids at the moment here in Ilford going to school without a breakfast, not getting the nourishment that they need. So it's about people not being on their knees begging at food banks. I don't want to see food banks in the future. I think they do an amazing job, but I want to see people being given dignity and respect once more, because that's what we stand for as a Labour family. We believe that we should help each other, because you never know when you might find times are hard. People with disabilities often acquire them in work. They don't ask to be in those circumstances, so why should we say that they're somehow inferior because they need help and support? They need that help and support, and we should give it. People on benefits, it's no fun. The Tories think, oh, you're on benefits, or it's a lifestyle choice. It's not a lifestyle choice. It's no fun to be worried sick about whether or not you're going to have a home. How many people in Ilford have a safe and secure home at the moment? So many families at the moment do not have adequate housing, are petrified that if they complain about what's happening in their housing conditions, that they'll have to move into temporary accommodation and that their kids will have to move schools. So many people across Ilford and across the whole of the UK. People should be able, there's three things that my granddad said to me that you need to be socially mobile. You need health, education and housing. We should be able to provide that for every single person in our country. And under the next Labour government, I will not rest until we provide that, because I've done 8 years, as was said, I've had a zillion jobs in that period. I've done 8 years on the front bench now, and I've had the honour and the privilege to be the Member of Parliament for Ashton-under-Lyne and represent you on our front bench in various different roles. And in that time, I've spent a lot of time away from home, and my children are now all grown up and, you know, to say things, horrible things to me occasionally, but apparently that's what teenagers do. But I'd like to think that come, hopefully, the time we get into government, I want my children and my grandchildren to be proud of what we achieved. I want to be able to look into my son's eyes and say, your mum wasn't around that much because your mum was fighting for this, to get people this, because it was important, because the last generation gave your mum that opportunity and she wanted to give them that opportunity. So my promise to you is keep fighting, keep having our Labour bickers within the family, because that's important, that we support each other, but we also challenge each other at times. It's incredibly important to do that, but never forget that we need a Labour government, and my promise to you is if you help deliver that, I'll never stop fighting for you, because you fought for me when I needed it the most. Thank you.